Here we are. Hi, welcome to Rise Up and Heal. You are not broken, you are becoming. And today I am so incredibly grateful, so incredibly blessed to be speaking with the beautiful Jocelyn Norton, who is a narcissistic abuse recovery and confident coach. Jocelyn, thank you so much for coming on Rise Up and Heal. How are you?
Hi, Annie. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your podcast. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh,
And it's so amazing to be here. I'm doing good, thanks, and have been excited for today. How are you?
yeah, I'm exactly the same. Absolutely feeling really excited. And especially because you and I have got such similar experiences and we're both advocating and doing what we love. So I love that you and I get to have a conversation about this today, really advocating for those beautiful women who are going through this. Like it's not an easy journey, as you
No,
absolutely know yourself. So can you just share like a bit of your story with us today?
sure, Annie. So throughout my life, I've always been a very confident individual. I've always believed in myself and really lived my true, authentic self throughout life, very determined with what I want to do and become more of myself in the process of my journey. And there came a point in my life a number of years ago where I entered into a narcissistic relationship without knowing so. And the relationship was built on flattery to start off with, and it felt really safe and really loving. And a while into the relationship, the mask fell off in the partner, and the abuse um, formed. And I slowly became someone that was unrecognizable. I could not recognize myself anymore. And it just didn't feel right. And it didn't sit well with me either. I lost all of that confidence. I lost that self belief. And I just wasn't Jocelyn anymore. And there came a point in this relationship and in myself where my health took a turn.
Mm.
So early into those years, I was a health coach and just started the journey into life coaching. And I want to say the health coach stepped forward in me again. And a version of myself was like, this is enough. This is not you. You need to let go of this relationship. It's not serving you. It's not allowing you to be your true, authentic self. You need to break free as there's so much more for you in this life. But you have to let
Wow.
go of this narcissistic relationship and you have to heal through all of that trauma in order to grow and become more of yourself. And the so I had to start off with healing the autoimmune deficiency, so to get my health back on track,
Yeah.
um, break up with the relationship, completely separate myself, no contact whatsoever. And then as I healed my health, I then focused on myself again. And slowly over time, doing all the tools and techniques that really helped me understand this narcissistic abuse, helped me to understand who I was during that version of myself in that relationship. It helped me to understand my partner better, and it helped me to understand that relationship at the same time, and just really built me up. And I got my power back, and the queen energy in me really stepped forward, and my self worth improved as well. And I really leveled up within myself, and that was the most beautiful thing. And all of that love restored itself in me and all of that. I felt all of that unconditional love surround me. And that was the most beautiful thing, to really acknowledge myself again and my authenticity and my self-worth and so on, that I am enough and I am capable and powerful, good enough and confident and so on. And I came here with a purpose and I'm going to follow through with that purpose. So it took time, but a healthy amount of time, to really dig deep into all of that shadow work and really, I want to say, dismantle it, understand it, fill it with love, and really step into my true authentic self again, which is very important to me. My authenticity, it's a big part of who I am.
Yeah. And there's so much that you were saying there. I was like, yes. And it's like, oh, there's so much that we can talk about just within everything that you've said. And I think, two of the biggest things as well is, I mean, number one, fantastic that you took the time to truly heal yourself and that you reclaimed who you really are. I think that in itself is just, I mean, it's a huge topic just in itself, but it really is such an inspiring thing to do and such a brave thing to do. And especially when you've stepped out of a relationship like something like narcissistic abuse, because, like you said, your self worth is just literally torn apart. And I can absolutely, agree with that, because it's like all of a sudden it becomes non-existent. You really do become a shell of your former self. That's
Yeah.
how I sort of felt. The other thing is, when you were saying like the health coach in you stepped forward, because our bodies really do keep the score.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's important to look after your body and to look after your mind. You have to look after your entire energy field of
yes,
what makes you,
yes,
and that's your body, that's your mind, that's your spirituality, um, and just keep a pure wholesomeness around you, and to recognize distractions and negative energy that's come into you, which is
yeah,
not for you. And
yeah,
let's say what you also didn't ask for. So that narcissistic abuse, no one asks for it. We empaths,
yeah,
we want to give love. So the most important thing is to recognize, become more aware of what's coming into our light and how
yeah,
does it serve us. And then what to do once we've recognized it. Like, does this serve us? No. Okay. How do we need to rise above it so that we can move on? What are these triggers um,
mm,
that are occurring? What is the triggers teaching me so
yes.
that I can really heal and then power up within myself?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so important. I think, and I found for me, I think one of the most important things I did within my healing process, and you said this earlier, that you went no contact. And I know that it is just probably one of the most imperative things to do is to
Yeah,
absolutely go no contact. I honestly felt like I'd ripped
yeah,
my own heart out of my own chest by doing that,
yes,
but I had
yeah,
to protect
yeah,
myself, to make myself heal.
exactly.
Like, how were you with the no contact? Because you
Well,
made that decision.
I made that decision, but I found with me, it's like we all like go into a dip where we want to make that contact. It's evident.
Mm,
But when you're in that dip and you're also missing that person, you've got to question yourself and go, why do I want to make contact? What is
yeah,
this contact going to do for me? And
yeah,
what is the underlying reason to why I'm wanting to make that contact? Because at the end of the day, what everyone needs to understand is when we are missing that person, when we want to make contact with that person, of regardless of what it is about, maybe you want to explain yourself more, or maybe you're just missing that person naturally, so you want to reach out, or maybe you are upset and you want to say something. But at the end of the day, it's like you got to sit into yourself and question, what is the reason for me wanting to make this attempt and reaching out? And what is this version of myself teaching me? And when we are missing all of that, that makes us want to reach out, we are actually just missing that old version of ourselves, because we're all just a mirror. So our partner or our ex-partner or that relationship, it's all just a mirror of teaching. So
Yeah,
when we want to make contact, technically on a subconscious level, we're actually just wanting to make contact with that old version of ourselves. Instead of physically making the contact, we actually need to go within and talk to ourselves from within and heal that old version of ourselves.
absolutely. And I think that's the probably like I probably really struggled with this in this sense, and maybe you were sort of the same in the sense with the whole mirroring. Like when
Mm.
I wanted to reach out, because absolutely you did, and I even know for
Mm.
me that I wanted to reach out on numerous occasions and justify and be
Yeah,
like, hang on a second, that's not the truth, this is the truth.
yeah,
um but to look at that relationship and go, okay, what am I, like you said, like, what am I missing? What is it about me? Because at the end of the day, and especially being empaths, we absolutely bring the love and the compassion and the
mm,
understanding and all of that to the table. And we're very
yeah,
forgiving. And so
yes,
when we're missing that, because you're so used to thinking that that's exactly what that other person gave you, it was like,
yes.
for me, it was like it was a one person, but it was like two different people. Like, did you find that too? Like, that's where I feel like it's quite
Mm,
confusing. It's
yeah, yeah. And you're
like,
just being yourself too. You're being your loving self,
yeah,
and you do just want to be fully you and reach out. And it's going to be really hard. And the truth is also, let's just say you do reach out, you're not going to get that response or
no,
reaction that you hope to receive that's going to like mirror your love and light, you know?
absolutely. Because so many times, and I think this is where people get so shocked, is it's like the
Yeah.
narcissistic partner is angry at me and I don't understand. Like, they've discarded me and we've gone through this. I don't understand why they're angry at me. Like, for a lot of the
Yeah.
time, if they've discarded you, they're angry at you. And a lot of people, and I see this quite
Mm,
regularly, it's like, but why are they so angry at me? Like,
mm,
they're the one that sort of really ended this relationship, and why are they so angry at me?
yeah.
So,
But subconsciously, it's funny because that's how you and I would feel. That's how
yeah,
most women would feel, um, so to speak. But they actually are not angry at us. They're putting the blame on us, but they're not angry at us. They're angry at those versions of themselves. And also, a narcissist, their emotional maturity isn't as high as
mm,
an empath. So
right,
that's quite out of alignment, So
yeah,
there's going to have this conflict, and he is going to put a lot of it onto us, and it's going to make us feel bad. But it's actually just the mirror of themselves,
yeah.
occurring.
And the other thing is because, especially as you're healing, and especially when you go no contact, they lose all control, because, as we know with
Yeah,
narcissists, they love to be in control. So that's why
yeah,
it's so also important
mm,
to go that no
yeah,
control, because, I mean, no contact, because they can't control
yeah,
you anymore. They can't
yeah,
manipulate you anymore. They can't gaslight
yeah,
you anymore. They can't do any of that because you have gone no
yeah.
contact. What would you
There's this,
say? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, go.
Oh no, I was going to say, there's this saying, when you get into a relationship with a narcissist in the very beginning, it's like so romantic and so much love, because what they're actually doing is they're mirroring your light, your love, your empathy, your dreams, and everything, that's who you are. And that's what they're reflecting back to you, okay? And it
Yeah.
feels as if you've met your soulmate. And as an
Yes.
empath, you do fall for it because everything is like, wow, it's just so abundantly beautiful. But they just reflecting all of your light, and nothing about them. And they will do that until they can get everything that they need from you.
100%. Yeah.
And then slowly what happens is they will, the further you go in the relationship, um, the mask falls off. And it's like you become very confident in the relationship because you're very comfortable in the relationship, and they're not going to like that. So they start to lose control,
Yeah.
where their behavior then starts to reflect. And that's when the gaslighting begins to form and so on. And then from there, now you start sticking up for yourself, and they don't like that. So now it's getting even worse. So you're having the confusion, then comes the isolation, then comes the separation from your higher self, okay,
Hmm.
because you're feeling so disconnected from your truth. Like none of this is feeling right. Your nervous system is going into a
Oh,
shutdown.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And then because now you also, I don't want to use the word fight back, but because you're speaking your truth and you're speaking your
Mm.
truth, like none of this is right, they then step into a victim mentality, and they start saying like, no, but you made me feel like this, and so on and so on. And then because now you fall for it, then again starts with the mirroring of your light, your love, your empathy, and your dream. So it's a constant pattern, which is so
Absolutely.
unhealthy. And we as the empaths, we are so pulled away from
Mm.
our higher selves that nothing can actually work for us. And we don't feel right. And it's like when we're talking just in conversation, just everything is going wrong within our own headspace, because we're not fully present within ourselves because of all of that conflicting abuse.
Absolutely. And they are so good at twisting
Yeah.
it back around where you are 100% questioning yourself.
Mm.
Because being such empaths, we start to go, oh, maybe it is me. Like, oh, maybe I did get it wrong, and maybe I have sort of overreacted. And do you like it's
Mm.
like that. And then I always sort of felt too, it was really hard to pinpoint on stuff.
Yeah.
So I sort of found that, and in the end, you
Yeah.
feel like you're talking in circles. And it wasn't
Yeah.
until for me, especially like the end, I was like, we're talking in circles. Like this is just the
Mm.
same thing that's going on here. It's the same.
Mm.
Like in the end, I just
Yeah.
wanted to scream, "Will you please just be honest? Like
Mm.
just be honest." But unfortunately,
How was it? How was it for you with a child involved?
having children, I was probably really lucky in the sense that for having the kids that they were in sort of their late teens. So for
Okay.
them, I didn't really have to be in contact as such because they both had their own sort of mobile phones and that they could
Yeah.
coordinate that. There were still definitely times and definitely moments where I know that the children were, I don't want to say used because I feel like that's not quite the right word, but there was definitely moments where it was orchestrated in a way that I would get upset. And rightly
Yeah.
so, because as a parent, you are very protective of your children. And I mean, for yourself, you're trying to come to terms with the breakdown of the relationship and come to terms with sort of actually, you know, the fog is really starting to clear, and I'm actually starting to really sort of see who this person really is. And especially once you
Yeah,
find out that you have been in that relationship with a narcissist, I mean, you end up learning so much about it. But
yeah,
then it's they will do anything in their power to still try and gain that control, and so they will basically, I guess, use the children in a way to try and get to
yes,
you. So as a parent, that can make it extremely difficult
yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah,
And
and
it's
the
really
problem.
unfair on the children as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I was probably lucky in the sense with one of my children, they have a very good understanding and an even better understanding than what I ever did as to what narcissism really was. Because, they were learning things like psychology and things like that at school. So
Yeah,
they were talking about that and learning about that, which is absolutely, instrumental for their healing. But I guess, yeah, I had to be very mindful as to what I was saying, because at the end of the day, this is still their parent.
yeah,
There wasn't a fair partner in place. There was all this sort of stuff that was going on, and it was pretty ugly. It was pretty messy.
yeah,
So I think the main thing is, if I could give a suggestion for any parent, is it's very hard not to engage with the other parent. It's very hard not to react. But honestly, if you need to react, go in and scream in your pillow, close the cupboard door, whatever you need to do, jump up and down, and then try and react in a calm manner if
mm,
you actually need to deal with this other parent.
yeah,
Um, because
yeah,
the second that they know that they have upset you, then they know they've got you. So it's really important to
exactly.
try and just keep it
Yeah,
factual and try not to let
mm,
your emotions
mm,
override the situation.
yeah, definitely. It's always good to process before responding and to come across
Absolutely.
calmly, as you mentioned, so that you can fully grasp everything and then come back with truth and a more assertive way in order to handle the situation better.
Absolutely. And you feel better for it too, because you're not giving any emotion and you are just basically stating the facts. It sort of becomes like a business arrangement where there is
Yeah.
no emotion and it is just stating the facts.
Mm,
And the more you
mm,
learn about it and the more you heal, when the stronger you become in setting those boundaries. And I know for myself, being such a people pleaser, setting boundaries was definitely not something I was very good at. I was very good at
yeah,
just trying to keep everybody else happy. Let's keep the peace. Like, do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I did struggle with that too, in setting those boundaries, because normally there was no
yeah,
boundaries because I just allowed things to happen basically.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's all in the learning, and
absolutely.
learning ourselves. So, like
Yes,
learning the relationship as well. And boundaries is one of the most important things in our life that we need to fully grasp and understand, because when we set a boundary with someone, um, it's never actually about them, even though we make it about them. And the boundary is more about ourselves respecting that
yes,
boundary. We're always going to
absolutely.
expect that other person to respect the boundary, but they will never respect it until we respect it first.
Absolutely. And they will try anything to overstep your boundary or try to upset you in such a way so that boundary becomes null and void. But it's really important that you stick with that boundary. And again, like you were saying too, it really happens the more that you start to heal yourself, the more that you start to really step into yourself, the more that you start to
Yeah,
actually truly understand what narcissism is and what this person is about. then the
Mm.
more confident you also become in setting those boundaries, because it's like, you know what? I see you. I really
Yeah.
see you, and I know you, and I know exactly now how you operate. And I remember saying this to actually one of the therapists. I said there was a situation,
Yeah.
and I said, you know, I actually don't believe, I feel like this story, this person, I'm being told half truths and this, that, and the other. And then I said, you know, but now I'm starting to think I sound psychotic, by thinking like this. And the therapist turned around and they said to me, Annie, I would be more concerned that you weren't thinking that way than if
Yeah.
you just bought what was basically being told to you, because this is the
Mm.
thing. They are so good at
Yeah.
twisting their words, at setting their own
Manipulating.
agenda and manipulating everything. And so now, and I know you're exactly the same with the work and that you've done, we understand their operating system now, don't you? Like
Mm.
once you
Yeah.
fully understand the game and you fully understand their operating
Yeah.
system, it's like, oh, game over, buddy, game over.
Yeah. And we can catch them out on the spot. And the most
Yeah.
important thing, I think, when you do fully understand narcissism and you're still around
Mm-hmm.
like a narcissistic person or somebody that has narcissistic traits, regardless of the level, is to not react to their behavior, but to just be like, no, 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 I'm catching you out. But like to say that on the spot, but to not be abrasive, but to be
Yeah.
calm and collected. And, I'm hearing what you're saying. You're projecting, you're not thinking, and you need to actually just step into yourself and instead of blaming me or saying that I did this or whatever, you need to actually rethink things because you're actually not going to manipulate me. I know you well enough. I know narcissism well enough. And whatever you do or try to say to me isn't going to work with me. And then it's like they take a step back and
Yeah.
they're like, okay, I actually can't behave in that
Yeah.
way around her.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
They
know?
become really scared of you, because it's
Mm,
interesting, because I was thinking, oh, maybe they're just riddled with shame and guilt with everything that's gone on. And and then I had one of the experts go, no, 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 no,
mm,
Annie. It would absolutely be, it's more that they are scared because you and your clients, you're stepping into your truth and you're speaking
mm.
the truth. And of course, they don't like that.
Yeah,
They are scared as to what is going to come
yeah,
out of your mouth. Like, where is this conversation going to go?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they would actually remove themselves. The more they
Mm-hmm.
feel that you're like a buffer within yourself and they can't get what they want from you, they
Mm-hmm.
actually remove themselves. And that's really healthy
Absolutely.
in that way. And I also wanted to mention when people find themselves in a narcissistic relationship, or even multiple narcissistic relationships, like they didn't learn from the one
Mm.
and then another version has appeared. It's like we've really got to step into ourselves and say, why did I attract that into my life?
Mm.
There's a reason why this narcissistic person has entered into my life. What is the teaching for me? Why did I bring them into my life? What didn't I learn from the first narcissistic relationship that it's repeating itself? Because it's going to keep coming back and back and back until
Mm.
we can fully heal from the teaching of the narcissism. Because narcissism is also a reflection about ourselves, not meaning that we have it. What is it teaching us about our self worth? Narcissism
Absolutely.
is a direct reflection of our self worth. So, in other words, we need
Absolutely.
to step into the power of our self worth, believe in ourselves, and to fully grasp our authenticity um, in the process of that relationship, you know?
100%, absolutely. And it really is. I think this is where, like, I even look at for me, and I think, my whole journey and this whole experience, this person has been my absolute greatest teacher.
Mm.
They really have, because this has absolutely forced me to truly break open,
Yeah.
really do the work on myself and address any shadows and what is it within me that clearly I'm lacking or I'm seeking. What are the
Yeah.
areas that I can improve in? What are my strengths? What do I like? What don't I like? Because that was probably one of the biggest things I found, that I had no idea what I wanted because I was so used to doing everything that this other person, or wanting to do everything that this person wanted. Um,
Yeah.
so I think really it is the greatest gift, is absolutely knowing and learning who you are.
Mm.
Like, your own
Yeah.
self-worth is just one of the greatest gifts that you could ever give yourself.
Mm. Yeah. And it also teaches us about empathy,
Yeah,
because we are so empathic within ourselves and we give, give, give.
yeah,
But what is the empathy teaching us about ourselves? So, what can this reflection tell us?
yeah.
How can we pour it back into ourselves?
Absolutely. And I think, one of the hardest things and the biggest things is really self-forgiveness,
Mm.
is looking at this situation and forgiving yourself. And I know sometimes, we'll really berate ourselves because, oh, there were red flags, or I didn't
Yeah.
listen to my intuition and I could have done this different, blah, 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 blah. But I think self forgiveness is truly like just taking that time
Definitely.
and forgiving yourself, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know
Yeah.
until you sort of know. So,
Yeah.
you couldn't have changed anything because you didn't know what you
Mm.
were dealing with at that particular point in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, healing means letting go. So, letting go of those versions of ourselves, and change means growth. A lot
Absolutely.
of people don't like change,
Yeah.
and they would rather stay comfortable within this abusive relationship, which is so unhealthy. But it's about them really stepping into their power and knowing that they can leave this relationship. And even though change is hard, it is possible. And it's occurring because it needs to occur. We have to step into that change, even if that means, um, we're not going to like our next little bit of surrounding for a certain period of time, but we have to make that change to grow, and then order to receive what's meant for us next in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so imperative because, even you said yourself, like right at the beginning of your story, your health became severely impacted. And that's what
Mm.
ends up happening is, I mean, okay, yes, your self-esteem and all that is fully impacted, but all of a sudden, like, your health is impacted, your nervous system is impacted, like everything sort of becomes, I don't know, like you're in tatters, you're on edge because you are continually sort of working or walking on
Yeah.
eggshells. And what
Yeah.
it's doing to yourself, especially over a period of time, becomes
Mm.
and turns into something that can be really detrimental. And I mean, look at even for you, having to face all of a sudden, I've got this autoimmune thing that's going on with me that, like, what's going on, why is this occurring for me, how is this, and
Yeah.
do you know what I mean, like everything was coming out within you
Yeah.
because of what you were going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a full-on story, isn't it?
Mm.
Look, we could talk about this forever. And I do just want to say, so Jocelyn, if you're right, if I say this, I just want to say to all the
Sure.
listeners that you and I were talking before the show, and this is
Yeah.
something that Jocelyn and I are going to be connecting on a more regular basis once a month, where we can really talk about narcissism, because there is
Yeah.
so much that we could cover, isn't there? Like,
Yeah.
we could be on here for years,
Mm.
really.
Yeah. there's a lot to learn, and to fully grasp narcissism and your journey in it takes a lot of time and a lot of work.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
really important to hear from us and what we have to share with all of you so that you can take back your power, fully heal, and fully grow and become more of yourself in the
absolutely.
process of it all. And
Absolutely.
really understand it, like integrate into who you are on a deeper level as you explore the narcissism that you have experienced.
100%. What would you say before we sort of start to wrap it up? What would you say would probably be, say, one of the healing tools that really also helped you? Because there's so many modalities, but
There's so many.
what would be one of the, if somebody was really struggling right now, trying to find the forest for the tree, we can't see the forest for the trees, what is one of the things that you would recommend that they do?
Sure. Honestly, I love neuro-linguistic programming. There is so many tools and techniques that one can do on themselves in the narcissistic abuse. But if someone doesn't have access to NLP coaching, the best thing to do is to seriously just sit into yourself, get a journal, and to just really, I want to say, pour everything out onto a page, acknowledge your feelings, and read exactly what you have written. Okay. And then again, sit into yourself and really understand all that you have shared onto that page and then fully grasp it within yourself. So you're doing that shadow work within yourself and you're diving deeper each time into everything, into every emotion, into every feeling, and to just, I want to say, dismantle all of those feelings and to know that you are enough, and these feelings, I may feel this way, but it was caused by this person, and this is not me, and I don't want to feel this way. But I want to heal and move through this, and I want to feel like whatever. And and but the thing is to do that on a daily basis and to be um, mindful at the same time and just like aware of the journey of like what you're doing every single day, aware of the shadow work, and then
Yeah.
that will help you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think journaling was definitely something that I really used a lot of
Mm,
in helping me heal. It was definitely one of one of those things. And like I said, there are so many modalities, which I
mhm.
mean, we will be absolutely discussing,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
further on every
yeah,
time that we sort of connect that we can really share. But
yeah.
and I
And
think
to
that's the
meditate,
yes, meditation. I was
meditate,
going to
yeah, and to build that connection because right now,
yeah,
narcissistic abuse will disconnect you. So
yeah.
it's important to have that connection with your higher self. So even though you're doing the shadow work and you're doing the journaling, the meditation and focusing on that connection and that relationship with yourself is number one.
Absolutely become your own best friend. That is the one
Yeah,
thing that I
I love
always say
that.
to my clients, become your own best friend. It's so
Yeah,
important to do that. And, you know, like I said, we could talk about this forever and a day, but just start somewhere. And I love how you have suggested journaling to be the first thing, because honestly, I think it is one of those greatest tools to use. And especially when everything is being poured out onto the paper and when you have that opportunity to truly sit
mhm,
back and reread what you wrote, you are developing that relationship with yourself because you're actually starting to see what's really coming out. So yeah,
Mm,
I think it's absolutely imperative. So I love that you've suggested journaling to be one of the first things because honestly, it's a really amazing tool to use
mm,
in the healing process.
yeah. And to hear like your higher self to come through to you. So like to hear those voices and then pour those voices into the journaling as
Mm-hmm.
well, because that's what you need. So when doing this, to not have any music on, and I know music is
Mm-hmm.
comforting, but you need to sit in the silence to fully grasp and to fully heal and to allow yourself to just be safe and present within who you are. So if crying needs to occur, like just let the crying pour out of you, you know?
Absolutely. Exactly.
Mm,
And I think just with regards to the journaling, because I found for me, like a lot of the stuff that would first come out, say in the first maybe page or the first half of the page, and that would be very like ego based. But all
mm,
of a sudden, when you move through, and this is something I found in the journaling, it was like my higher self was speaking to me. Like all of a
yeah.
sudden, I was getting the things like, Annie, you're going to get through this. You can get through this. Like, I
Yeah.
believe in you. And, you know,
Yeah. Mm,
like, yeah, that's what I found.
amazing.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just really
Yeah.
interesting that the first section I was like, it was like coming out, and then all of a sudden
Mm,
it's like the deeper and the more that I wrote, the deeper and the more
mm.
the soulful stuff came out, and I was like, oh wow, that is pretty damn cool. Who knew I had that within me?
Oh, wonderful. And it not only does it fulfill us to have
Mm,
that connection, but it reassures us and it gives us that trust again, um,
absolutely.
so that we can fully trust within our own power of ourselves, our capability, our self-worth, and our self-love, trusting the
Yeah,
process. Mm.
absolutely. Trusting the process. I love that. All right, Miss Jocelyn, where can everybody find you?
I'm on all the social media platforms. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Jocelyn Joan. Instagram, I'm at narc.healing.confidence.coach. I'm on LinkedIn as Jocelyn Joan, YouTube as Jocelyn Joan. Um, so yeah, that's where they can find me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I will absolutely be putting all of those links in. So if any of you would like to reach out to the beautiful Jocelyn, you can absolutely do that. Like I mentioned earlier, Jocelyn and I were talking before the recording, and this is something that we are going to be doing on a regular basis where we will be discussing more in depth of the different things that comes with the whole narcissistic side of abuse because as you're all aware, it's not just a small subject. There's a lot to absolutely unpack, and I think one of the biggest things, and I know that Jocelyn agrees with this, is for both of us, we want nothing more than to absolutely help each and every one of you heal, and we just want to be your biggest advocates because we know what it's like ourselves to be walking in the space that you're walking in.
Yeah,
But I don't ever want to see anybody go through any of this. And I know, Jocelyn, you are absolutely the same.
exactly. A wish for healing, growth, and a deeper sense of awareness within
Yeah.
ourselves when we experience this narcissistic abuse and to really question what is it teaching me and
Yeah.
to stand up for yourself in the process of this is not for me, this does not serve me, so learn and then remove yourself.
Absolutely. And the more that you can do that, the more you become your own best friend, then the more you are going to absolutely be standing strong, standing tall, and advocating and protecting yourself. It's a beautiful space to be in. So I know if I can do it, Jocelyn's done it. You can too. So, Jocelyn,
Exactly.
thank you. Thank you so, so much for being on board with Rise Up and Heal. Like, I love our conversations, and you have
Yeah.
just given such amazing insight during our chat. So, thank you so much.
And thank you, Annie, for inviting me. It's been an absolute treasure. I really, really have loved my time with you, and I look forward to many more. It's going to be
Absolutely.
exciting.
It's going to be very exciting. All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening to Rise Up and Heal. We absolutely wish you all the best in your journey, and you can absolutely reach out to either Jocelyn or myself, and I will be including the links as soon as we put this up. So, thank you so much. Bye for now.
Bye.
Oh, hang on.